I want you to be able to read and understand C++ code that you come across and C++ code that I show you. And in order to do that, I really want to minimize the times when I say, don't worry about this little magic invocation, we'll cover it later. And when I have to do that, I want to come and close that loop up again as soon as I can. The couple things, therefore, that I want to talk about now, because I think you're going to be able to understand the code I show you better if you've seen these things. First, I want to mention struct. A struct is a lot like a class. It's a user-defined type. It's often used for what we call plain old data or POD classes. They don't really have any business logic. Take a point, for example. It has an X and a Y. It doesn't have a method to validate it and make sure that it's a legitimate point, or to put it in the database, or to update it for a new fiscal year. It's just an X and a Y. Structs, however, can have everything that classes can have. They can have functions in them, including a constructor and a destructor. They only have one difference, literally one difference. I mentioned that if you don't say public versus private in a class, the default is private. In a struct, the default is public. That's the only difference, and you should never use the default anyway. You should always say the following stuff is private, the following stuff is public. And then that turns into there being no difference whatsoever between a struct and a class. As a matter of practice, most developers will like to use structs for POD classes and classes for, full-on classes, but it could go either way. I've shown you how to write classes. I should show you at least the syntax for inheritance. Some of the significance and importance of inheritance will really only come into play as we move into doing more with our classes, but I'll show you how inheritance works to get you started for that. And I want to talk about namespaces. We've been using the std namespace and saying std : string to say this is a standard class from the standard library. A little bit more about namespaces and a little less typing, just so that your code will be a little more the way everyone else's code is. And then enum, which is a concept in a lot of languages, just a way to give names to constants. The C++ enum is a little bit different from some other languages enum, so I want you to see it and know how it works.